welcome back to Jeffy and Chihuahua. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my personal stuffed bell pepper recipe. There are a lot of different variations of a stuffed bell pepper out there, and I noticed when I was looking through other people's recipes that a lot of the recipes were for 6 bell peppers. There is no way that I could finish that many bell peppers, so I'm going to be showing you guys with a package of 3. But down below in the description where I usually write out the entire recipe, I will also double it and write that out as well just to make it easier. All of the cook time should stay the same. You're just pretty much doubling what you're putting in. So to get started, we're going to take our 3 bell peppers and we just want to cut the tops off of these. Once the tops are off, we're just going to gut them. You're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 before you start chopping these tops off. So once we have our tops off of our peppers, I like to hold on to these because there's still quite a bit of good meat that we can chop off and put into our vegetable mixture. So next you're just going to need to take a pan that has kind of high walls. And I'm just going to drop my peppers in. I also read online that if your peppers don't stay up very well on their own, you can cut a little bit off of the bottom to make them flat. My personal preference though is just to use pans with high enough walls that you don't have to do that. And then we're just going to take some oil and we're going to drizzle this all over the peppers, and I'm going to use this little brush to get it all over. Once these are all painted, I'm just going to pop them into the oven at 350 for about half an hour while we work on our stuffing. Our next ingredient is going to be our meat. You can make these totally with vegetables if you're a vegetarian, but usually I see them made with ground beef or chicken. I'm going to use some sausage patties this time, I was feeling a little adventurous. I normally cook this though with a 1/4 pound of ground beef for 3 peppers. So once you're done cooking your meat, you're going to want to pull it aside and put it in a separate bowl. And then we're about to start our vegetable mixture. I prefer to use minute rice because I just have a very difficult time getting real rice correctly cooked. But if you are using real rice, it's a good idea to start cooking it with the appropriate amount of time so that it ends up being finished about when our peppers are finished. So for our vegetable mixture, we're just going to take these tops and cut off the good parts. Then we're just going to chop these up into little pieces. And you're going to want these pieces to be about the same size as the onion pieces that you cut so everything cooks real evenly. I'm just going to throw these in our pan. And then next up, I have a small jalapeno. And then I like to gut the jalapeno and just use the outside part. Throw our jalapeno in. And then I have 1 small onion. Alright, we're just going to throw our onion into our pan. So the last thing we need to chop up before we put this on our stovetop is just 1 or 2 cloves of garlic. And garlic cooks a lot quicker than the rest of our vegetables. So we're going to put this vegetable mixture on the stovetop over medium heat for about 5 minutes until the onions start to get a little see-through, and then we're going to turn the heat down to a very low heat and throw our garlic in it for about another minute or 2 just to get it a little cooked through. So now I'm just going to pour a little bit of oil into our vegetable mixture before we put it on the stovetop. And if you choose to use minute rice like I do, now is about when I would put it in. This is our vegetable mixture after I pulled it off of the stovetop. Everything looks really nice and incorporated. Next we get to add back in our ground beef. And then we're going to add 1 cup of rice. And we're just going to give this mixture a really nice stir. And once all of this seems pretty well incorporated, we're going to add our spices. One of my favorite spices to use is Garden Vegetable by McCormick. I normally eyeball it when I put it in, but I would say anywhere between a tablespoon and a teaspoon, you're probably in the safe zone. One thing to watch out for when you use mixes like this though is that normally the first ingredient is salt. So you want to be aware of that when you go to add your salt and possibly taste it first because you might not even need to add salt. Another personal favorite of mine is Mrs. Dash Extra Spicy. And this one, I don't believe there's any salt in here. No, there is not. Next, I have some black pepper. And I'm going to give this a stir and then taste test before I add salt. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm not going to use any salt. If you end up using one of the McCormick Grill Mates, just use between a tablespoon and a teaspoon of this, and I would say don't bother with salt. I'm not going to. I like to cook my peppers standing upwards, and I've seen it done both ways. If you cook them with the tops up like I like to do, sometimes you might end up with a little bit of water or oil just pooled at the bottom of these when they're cooking. These are pretty okay to handle. They're pretty tough, so I would normally just flip them over and dump them out. But if you're scared of possibly ripping your pepper, you can also just use a spoon to get that little bit of water out. So our next step is just going to be to stuff these, and for that I have a little spoon. These peppers were kind of on the larger side, so these are filling up pretty perfectly. Normally I have enough of this mixture that I can do a beautiful little scoop on the top, and that really adds a lot visually. But these did get full all of the way to the top. Just sadly we didn't have enough to make them extra pretty on top. But these look pretty good. Next I'm going to take cheese, and you can use any flavor of cheese you like. I have Munster here. Alright, so we're just going to pop these back in the oven for another 15 minutes at 350, and then they will be complete. So here are our beautiful finished bell peppers. They look really good to me. I'm a little sad that I didn't get that beautiful heap on top that I normally end up with. These peppers are a little bit on the larger size, so if you think that you might need just a little more, I would go ahead and put an extra quarter cup of rice into it. But these look absolutely delicious, and I cannot wait to eat them. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you liked this recipe and you want to see more, please hit that like button and subscribe. It really helps our channel grow. We'll see you guys next time.